Hello audio friends, MrAyrit here, and today we're going to look at an amp. Now this amp is not new by any means, but it is rather unique, especially when you put it alongside with some of the stuff in today's market. So let me just real quick, let's just go over like a few of the form factors and kind of types of amps you can get today that are fairly popular. This is actually a Modi multi-bit, but you know that's the form factor of the Magni and things like that there. On top of that, we've got the Schiit E2, which is, you know, a beautiful wood case in this instance. We've got a couple of THX amps here too. Here's the SP200. And then the largest of the bunch, you know, is the THX SSL789. You know, again, these are all kind of pretty common form factors in today's market, and some pretty common amps in the $100 to $300 range. Again, kind of pretend that this Modi is a Magni here, right? Okay. So what we're going to look at and review today is this guy. The original Schiit Mjolnir, I think that's how you say it. And let's just take a moment and do a size comparison here. There's some pretty normal amps of the day. Here is the Mjolnir. Here's Modi Magni size. Here's the Mjolnir. Here's a THX SSL789, which is by no means a small amp. Here's the Mjolnir. So I think I'm probably making my point here with the size of this thing. It is absolutely massive. So I guess the question is, how does it sound compared to these smaller amps? And is it still worth looking at something like this in today's market, where we've got tons of reasonably form-factored, reasonably priced, very well measuring amps, solid-state amps? Does the Mjolnir have a place still? Okay, now that I've cleared off some space so we can look at this unit, I'll just give you a quick tour of it. It's nothing terribly fancy, but it is a little bit different considering, you know, its age. And I'm not sure exactly when this came out. It's been like 10 years though, okay? So it's got some age on it. You can see mine's got some scuffed up examples here. This is definitely an older style Schiit with the venting and stuff on top. It doesn't look quite as sleek as the new stuff does, but it still looks nice. Front, you got, you know, it still looks pretty Schiit, right? Like volume knob, 4-pin balanced, or right and left channel 3-pin XLR, which is rather interesting. I guess that's how some people used to do balanced. Flip it around on the back here, and we've got balanced in, single-ended in. You've got 3-pin XLR out. You got a little toggle to switch between balanced and single-ended, and you can hear stuff in the amp when you switch that, kind of switching around and things. And then you've just got, you know, an on switch on the back, typical Schiit style, and then just kind of like the typical, you know, PC power cord in right here. So, no gain stages, no single-ended outputs, just single-ended in, balanced preamps out, and then 2 different flavors of balanced headphone. One which is pretty ubiquitous in the 4-pin at this point, and then the other I have never seen really used before, which is interesting. So it weighs like 15 pounds probably, and is there something special going on in here that those other smaller amps don't have? Why does this thing need to be so big? I honestly don't know. I haven't opened it up yet. I probably should, just to see what it looks like on the inside. What I will tell you though, actually, you know what? Let's just go ahead and open it up. I am curious. So let's go ahead and open this guy up, and we will see what's inside of it. Well, it's a little bit harder to get into than I thought. I figured the top would just come off. But this is what it looks like on the inside here. Not sure how well you can see, but there are a lot of capacitors in there and a couple of very large transformers going on in there. Man, all in a row there. Look at all those capacitors. Okay, so let's see what one of these THX amps looks like inside, just for comparison purposes. So it looks like I'm gonna have to go grab a hex to get inside of this thing here. We'll do the SMSL and we'll see what happens with that. Okay, got in. Let's just look in here a little bit. You can see there's a lot more circuitry going on inside there. Everything's just smaller. The transformer is almost non-existent back there. That's just that guy there in the back. I don't know, you probably can't see it all that well, but it is just a little itty-bitty thing compared to this. I count maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not even a dozen capacitors in there, and they're all much, much teenier, tinier than what's going on in the Mjolnir. Obviously, the volume pot, like you can see, just look at this little guy versus, look at the volume pot on this thing. So it's interesting to see. The differences here in these two amps. I'm sorry I couldn't get them actually just fully opened up to look better, but I don't want to take that much time. But I just thought it would be worth checking them out and just thinking about how they're different. And check this out here. This little saying. Can you see that? Thank you, Mike Moffat and Rena Slater and James Ivy. That's cool that they put that on the board actually. So. Yeah, there's some differences in construction, certainly, as we could see with the form factor. So I guess the big question is, are there differences in the sound? And of course, the answer is yes. The THX stuff, I've given it a chance over and over and over again because it is a good value, right? Like these THX amps, they used to be $300-$400. Now you can buy them on the used market for like $100-$150, very reasonable prices. And, you're getting a lot of clean, clear audio for that, but it just doesn't have the weight. It doesn't have the dynamics. It doesn't have the richness that something like this Mjolnir has. Just so much more nuanced, so much more dynamic, just richer, fuller, just funner, wider, just any word that you want to come up with. It's like an enjoyable audiophile term. The Mjolnir just outpaces these little amps just in every single category almost, I would say. Detail and resolution is equally as good. It does it in it's such a more fun and engaging way than the THX stuff does for me. And I tried this on numerous different headphones, including the Sundara HD600, the 8XX, all same conclusion. The THX stuff is it's drier, and it just doesn't engage me the way the Mjolnir does. So I think that's interesting because these old Mjolnirs, I bought this for $350, and I think at that price point, you are looking at some of these older top-of-the-line amplifiers from like 10 years ago. And my buddy Signcraft, he made a video about this too, which is actually what inspired me to buy this. But those old top-of-the-line amplifiers, they still have something to offer. And they certainly have more character and are a more engaging listen, in my opinion, than any of these THX things that you're going to buy today. So is it overkill? Probably. Do you need to have a gigantic desk to put it on? Yes. But if you can give it those concessions and you want to give it a shot, I think be on the hunt for one. I'm loving this thing. At this point in time, I mean, I'm going to I decided to sell my Bioelectric V280. I do love that amp, but I wasn't listening to solid state that much, and I didn't want to have that much money invested in it. So when I saw something like this come up for sale, I thought I would compare it with something like a THX amp to see what could I keep on hand that wouldn't break the bank, and if I wasn't using it all the time, it wouldn't break my heart and make me feel guilty about it. And I think the Mjolnir fits that niche perfectly. So I think it's a great amp. It certainly pairs super well with something like the Sundara. I may even have to try to pick up an HE6 again to see how this thing does with it, because I'm curious about that. Or maybe I can borrow one from somebody. So a little bit different of a video here today, but yeah, this Mjolnir, I think it's great. I think it's a very fun amp. You know, certainly worth satisfying your curiosity if you've ever been interested in trying like a gigantic old top-of-the-line amplifier. I'd say go for it, especially if you can pick up a good deal on one. You know, again, for the same money that this THX stuff was going for just like a couple of years ago. So yeah, I think that's it for today. I hope you got something out of this video, or at least found it somewhat entertaining to watch me struggling with this gigantic amp. But yeah, I guess we'll see you in the next one.